After Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 213, there's a lot left to be examined and a lot that needs to be discussed regarding the whole plot twist and revelation of Sukuna's master plan that he's had in the works for over 200 chapters of essentially being able to body hop from Yuji, what he describes as essentially a cage, to Megumi Fushiguro and everything that he's been plotting up until this point. It is absolutely shocking, and we also got in the wings the Angel, we got Hana, we got a lot to dissect, including Maki, because there's certain aspects that people aren't talking about, in particular regarding Jacob's Ladder, and so much more of the lore that is in this manga right now, because it's no secret, there's no denying it, there's no cap that you could throw on it that, yeah, Gege Akutami has been absolutely cooking. You know that term, let him cook? Yeah, Gege Akutami has made an absolute feast for Jujutsu Kaisen fans, because this manga is absolutely going hype insane, and yeah, just something that most fans can appreciate. I must go, the time is now, I must go, it's time to get out. Picking up from where 212 left off regarding, again, Megumi Fushiguro becoming the new host for Sukuna, a lot of fans were definitely left shocked and, oh my god, what the heck did Sukuna just pull? Considering the fact that, again, this was over 200 chapters ago that this whole bet and this whole deal was made between Sukuna and Yuji, most people didn't expect what was going on. But he takes it even further, because he opens up 213 talking about what happened and why he waited for this moment in particular to take over Fushiguro, because essentially with the whole deal that he made with Yuji, at any given point he could have forced Megumi to eat this finger. He could have done this at any time throughout the manga. He could have done it in Shibuya. He could have done it any given second. However, he waited for this particular point for a couple of different reasons, one of which he wanted to grow his own power, so that way he made sure, like, yeah, I don't want to be pushed around this time around. I don't want no competition. But even more so, he wanted to make sure that this time around he wasn't encaged. He wasn't basically locked up like what he was within Yuji. Within Yuji, essentially, you know, it was kind of like a Kurama, the nine-tailed fox that is sealed within Naruto type of situation where he couldn't do much, and he wanted to make sure that this next host that he had with Megumi Fushiguro was not going to be of the same caliber, and he would be able to maneuver at his own given leisure. And the messed up part about it all is he waited for the moment that Megumi's soul was shattered, because one of the biggest goals that Megumi has had, and pretty much his primary goal throughout the entirety of Jujutsu Kaisen, was of course trying to rescue his sister. Even going into the culling games, one of the biggest deals was, yo, we got to make sure that my sister's straight, we got to get her out of this game. And with what happened in the last chapters of essentially him finding out, wait a minute, this is not my sister, what's going on here, it absolutely devastated him. And as devious as it may be, that was again all according to Sukuna's plans. And with Curse Womb Under Heaven Part 5, the name of chapter 213, yeah, Megumi is essentially completely taken over by Sukuna, and it doesn't seem as though there's any reversing. One of the biggest questions I'm sure that a lot of Jujutsu Kaisen fans have is, well, what is going to happen? Again, is this going to be dual conscious? Is he going to be able to jump into Yuji's body as well? But based on what has been told to us thus far, it seems as though he was desperate to get out of Yuji's body. It seems as though he did not want to be in captivity in there, because in Megumi's body, he's able to maneuver and control it at will. So it might be a case of, yeah, there's a possibility that he would have to revert to Yuji if there's some sort of circumstances. But for the most part, it doesn't seem as though he's trying to go back. He wants to keep in control, because he only had that 1 minute deal that he had with Yuji that he made, again, over 200 chapters ago. And it looks like Yuji at the very least is not going to be involved with some of this stuff for a while, because immediately Sukuna punches him so hard that he spits out blood. I can't tell if it was an impaled punch or not, but he definitely launched him into a building. So I'm imagining that for the foreseeable future, at the very least the next handful or so of chapters, possibly more, Yuji's probably not going to be prevalent, because yeah, Sukuna immediately did a number on our guy. Also, it looks as though Sukuna is cocky as ever, because he opens up a dialogue with, no matter which era, insects always spring up out of nowhere. And I ain't gonna lie, I wasn't feeling that when he's referring to Maki as an insect, dog. You can say that about a couple of different people, but you're not gonna say that about our Maki, okay? You're gonna have some respect, Sukuna, I'm just saying. But there's definitely a little more to it than meets the eye, because if it was just the regular cast that we had up until this point, even if we had Nobara in here, I don't think necessarily they would have been able to put up a fight against Sukuna. Like, that's the difference going back to a couple of chapters ago where Yuji was referencing, like, you know, ever since I seen the Angel, I didn't like the idea of her replacing Nobara, you know, I don't want to think like that. However, the Angel quickly showcases in this chapter that, yeah, we can't completely trust her because we don't know everything, on top of the fact that she is also, you know, inhabiting some sort of cursed spirit. But on top of that, when she shows up with the Nui giant cursed bird, yeah, you could definitely see that at the very least when it comes to the grandiose finale of fighting against Sukuna, the angel Hana is going to be our biggest asset. And it also shows the difference between being able to maneuver and work and coincide with the cursed spirit that you have and kind of the Charizard-esque aspect of what Sukuna has been with Yuji, and then of course now with Megumi. Yeah, they'll be able to knock up from unconsciousness a lot quicker than what a Yuji or a Megumi could do because Sukuna's never rocked with either of them. Sukuna has, honestly, if you really think about it, been more so of like, yo dog, I want to be free. So there's definitely a little bit more of an intricacy to Sukuna than you would initially think, because if you really look closely at it, Sukuna just is trying to fight to be free and not under anyone's control. We don't know all of the details of the war that went down back in the day when he fought against all the sorcerers, but we do know Sukuna has been fighting to get out of Yuji because he doesn't want to be encaged. And even in Megumi, he's still saying, yeah, that's the difference between me and the curse that Hana has. I am free. I'm not going to listen to anybody. While Angel and Hana, yeah, they're coinciding. So yes, there's teamwork there, but Sukuna essentially is fighting for his own freedom. I mean, even if you really think about it and you look at it from a different perspective, they're referring to Sukuna as the fallen. However, he's the one that is again fighting for freedom. So just taking it into a different twist and thinking of things from a different perspective, you know? Because even when the angel approaches and says, before he takes further root into the body, we must tear the two apart and extinguish him, it's like, okay, damn, yo, you really want to knock his boots off, like, sheesh. And it also makes me wonder, where the hell was the angel this entire time, dog? Why you didn't just go after Sukuna immediately? Granted, I guess the angel didn't know about Sukuna being inside of Yuji's body, but yeah, I mean, you knew the fallen was somewhere. Come to think of it, probably the angel has been looking for him this entire time, so I take that back. And chapter 213 pushes forth even more the relationship between Hana and the angel. We know a couple chapters ago that it hinted that Megumi was nice to the dog and he kind of saved them or whatnot. This pushes forth even further that she really wants to save Megumi from Sukuna, because as she is striking, she says, evil, sin, and misery, extinguish them all, guide them, O radiance, to thy right path. And honestly, this is where Jujutsu Kaisen gets very biblical with it, because then it takes it a step further and introduces the attack called Jacob's Ladder, which kind of reminds me of the Seal of Orichalcos. It's a giant star in the sky. Very strange. But if you dive into the biblical context of Jacob's Ladder, you get a little bit of an understanding of what this technique truly means, at the very least of what it's based on. Because in Genesis 25, Jacob manipulated his brother Esau into giving up his birthright as the oldest son of their father Isaac. As it turns out, all it took was an offer of soup for a famished Esau to forfeit his inheritance to his little brother. And in Genesis 27, Jacob again upped his game by pretending to be Esau to trick his elderly and nearly blind father into giving him his blessing. So essentially, it kind of sounds like this Jacob guy was somewhat of a trickster. So again, this battle and this Jacob's Ladder, at the very least what it's based on, was some sort of trickery and maneuvering. But then the meaning of the ladder in Jacob's dream: alone and on the run, Jacob decided to camp out under the stars with nothing but a rock for a pillow. But then the story takes a monumentous turn. Scripture says that Jacob had a dream, and behold, a ladder was set on the earth with its top reaching to heaven, and behold, the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. But what does it mean? The ladder represents the connection between God and man. It demonstrates that the God who created the universe desires an intimate relationship with his creation, especially mankind, and most importantly, that he is the one who initiates that connection, conversation, and relationship. So if you take all of that into account, it's almost as if it's like God trying to speak with Sukuna to a certain degree via this angel Hana, except Sukuna is rejecting it and saying, I don't want it. But the effects of it is absolutely insane, and kind of even goes further with the biblical aspects, because in the page where she says, give him back, it looks like she's blowing on a horn. So think of like the trumpet that rang in heaven, again going back into biblical scripture. But then towards the end, the twists of twists continue as Gege cooks, with Megumi saying, thank you, everything's alright, even though I fully thought like, no, everything is not alright. I mean, do you look at him? And the cursed spirit even tries to warn Hana, don't, as she goes to give him an embrace of a hug. However, yeah, it seems as though Sukuna's not playing, because the angel says, I have always, and as they're embracing each other, it looks like Sukuna is getting ready to, or at the very least the cursed spirit within Megumi, munch on the angel. No ice spice involved. And we end the chapter with the text, never forget the true nature of a curse, and we're going on break. And yeah, the true nature of this curse seemingly is that they don't want to be contained by the angel Hana or any anything involving what they're trying to do to Sukuna. So there's definitely different levels to the story, but for the most part, one of the things that you could throw the argument on the flip side of things is that Sukuna wants to be free, and the angel and everybody else is trying to put him back in Yuji and eventually vanquish him. Because we don't know what stemmed and what sparked the war to begin with back in the days between Sukuna, there's a possibility that it's essentially Sukuna's fight for freedom, and the angels in them are trying to stop him. You know, you go into Jacob's ladder and you find out that, well, according to the scripture, Jacob tricked people and did what he did. So there's a lot of facets to this, and definitely you could tell that Gege has been doing their research and how they're maneuvering with this. From the attacks to the scripture, there's a lot of context in here that I definitely recommend you take a look at, because it's fascinating what Gege has been doing. But let me know what you guys think about this whole situation. Jacob's ladder, Megumi versus the angel, Yuji being knocked away. Do you think that Yuji was impaled, or was he just hit really freaking hard? How long do you think he's going to be out cold? Do you think that Maki, considering she's also going to be a part of this battle, do you think that she'll be able to do much against Sukuna? I'm going to throw the argument that no, Maki won't be able to help as much as I love her, but Sukuna's on a different level. And in terms of looking at this from a different angle, do you feel like there's a possibility that, yes, while Sukuna is a mean-spirited, some people throw the argument of, yo, dog, what he's doing is kind of messed up. Do you feel like there's a possibility that Sukuna is legitimately doing all these things because of a reason that we don't necessarily know of, his fight for freedom? And do you think there's still a possibility that Sukuna could revert back to Yuji? Maybe there could be a timer on him being a Megumi, considering it was only one finger. And if Megumi overcomes this whole situation with his sister Miki, is there a possibility that once again Sukuna will be in captivity, only this time inside of Megumi, or he'll be in two different captivities in Megumi and Yuji? And your overall thoughts and expectations for the future of Jujutsu Kaisen. This manga is madness. These chapters have been insane, and it's so sad that we are on a break. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.
Lights be flashing and looking at me, such a odd, unique, yet I'm so unique, and you're looking at me. If the walls could talk, they would probably repeat, and I'd probably say, get the fuck off me.